And that's when everything came into focus for me, because I met with Jerry and John in Jerry's office, and I said, well, I'm a little bit trepidatious about this. I'm not sure if this is, too far-fetched. And they said, but the very thing that you're trepidatious about is the very thing that's going to make it exciting. You give yourself over to the ride, to the fun of the movie, and try not to take it too literally. Try to get caught up in the adventure of it.
Hi, my name is Claudia Nic Cage, and this is my video audition for the role of Ben Gates in National Treasure 3, a film that doesn't exist yet. The fact that the National Treasure films are not yet a complete trilogy and were left in the dust of early 21st century trash art is one of the greatest sadnesses that I will ever experience in my life. Ever. I love these films unironically, and despite their blatant display of early 2000s sexism, their misogyny, the hegemonic masculinity that acts as a support pillar to the entirety of both films' plots, the ignorance that is believing treasure hunting can be anything close to a rightful and dutiful career path for a white man to pursue, or anyone really, the idea that the government is absolute and always right and basically the word of God and just very, very good, and you should never question the government, and what did the government ever do for you other than support you fully, and the FBI is the best. All of these elements and choices to represent certain ideologies do not negate my enjoyment of these films. And although I may not be an American, I love my flawless country just as much as Nic Cage Ben Gates loves his, and he loves his a lot. So we're gonna hang out today and talk about what that complicated relationship means between me, or us, the audience, and National Treasure, the art. The first National Treasure film was released in 2004, which makes it almost 20 years old. That fucks with me. This means that we might need a bit of a recap, which I don't mind doing because, as I've established, I love these movies. So, spoiler alert for anyone born in 2008 and your parents did not let you watch National Treasure and you don't know what National Treasure is because your parents, they don't value education. They don't want you to learn about history, American history, through the voice, body, soul, and just the embodiment and just everything that Nic Cage is. They don't want you to learn about history through that, I guess. Spoiler alert. Here we go. The film introduces our hero as innocent, curious, and free. Nic Cage as a child in a scary attic with really bad fake lighting. I may refer to our protagonist Benjamin Gates as Nic Cage, Nicholas, Bill Gates, or just anything other than Ben Gates, so for that I am incredibly sorry. Grandpapa Cage I can't do this. Grandpapa Cage spends a good 10 minutes of this prologue telling us, the audience, what's important. Number 1. America is great and good and full of mystery. Number 2, the Templars' treasure is a very important treasure. Don't get into the politics of who the treasure belongs to. Through this footage, you can see that it does not belong to America, but it does belong to America. 3. It is Benjamin Gates's responsibility to find this treasure one day. It is his right, it is his obligation, it is his responsibility as a patriot, a citizen of America, to find this treasure one day. It is his duty and his legacy. This might be a lot to put onto a 12-year-old boy, but it's 2004, times were tough. Cut to 30 years later, Ben Gates is an adult now. He's in the Arctic with this guy, his buddy Riley, the soy-drinking nerd boy, fucking beta. He's wearing glasses, what a loser. We'll talk more about Riley later, don't worry. Take a shot of soy milk every time Riley does something fucking soy. It's not bad. This guy, and Scene Bean. Also worth noting, all these guys have accents establishing to us, the audience, that they are potentially evil. As for Riley and Ben Gates, they're American, so we can trust them. They've tracked down a clue to this location, soon revealed as a frozen, snow-covered ship named the Charlotte, and the audience can understand that Ben Gates is tracking down the same treasure that was spoken of for us, the audience, about 2 minutes ago. The Templar's treasure. After excavating and revealing enough of the ship, they're able to enter it, and they come upon their next clue, an ivory pipe. Ben Gates proceeds to break the pipe, cut his finger open, and bleeds all over the stem of it, rolls it onto a piece of paper, and reveals a secret poem riddle message code. What a badass. Nic Cage then delivers some of the best acting that modern America has ever seen.
An iron pen. It describes what was penned. It was iron. No. It was put on the back of a resolution, the Declaration of Independence.
He talks like this a lot in these films when he is deconstructing clues. I think it's how Americans speak. I don't know, I'm not American. The clue is figured out and it leads them to believe that there is a hidden map on the back of the Declaration of, just stay with me here folks, Independence, a document that is very, very important to America, and Ben Gates loves this document very, very much. It's the best document ever. It is revealed that Scene Bean's intentions in finding the treasure are not just impure as Ben's are. He wants to steal the Declaration, and this does not sit well with Ben Gates. Scene Bean is a double-crosser. Nic Cage threatens to blow them up with this dynamite flare candle thing. The bad guys escape with the poem clue. Riley and Ben almost get blown up, but survive. Scene Bean leaves them for dead, but it's okay. They'll walk to the nearest village, of course. Were you worried about them freezing to death in the tundra? Of course not. There is a nearest village that is nearby. They're gonna walk all that way. They're gonna walk all that way. Wait, next scene, the film has established our hero, our villain, our soy boy nerd man, our treasure hunting plot. The stakes are high. There's a great pyrotechnic team and a bad lighting team. Awesome. Hope you're still with me here, folks, because this plot's about to get real complicated real fast, but that's okay because these movies are awesome. Ben and Riley decide the best course of action is to warn everyone important that the Declaration of Independence is going to be stolen by Scene Bean. They are laughed at, denied, and nobody is taking this as seriously as Ben Gates. Their final meeting is with Abigail Chase, and she's got a bit of an accent, which Ben Gates points out, and this makes me kind of uncomfortable, but that's okay.
How may I help you?
Well, your accent. Pennsylvania Dutch?
Saxony German.
Oh.
You're not American?
She also confirms that she was not born in America, but is an American. And she also doesn't take Ben or Riley seriously and promises that the Declaration of Independence in no way can be successfully stolen. This building is very secure, did you not know that? Why would you doubt the security and safety of a government building? You should never do that, it's very secure. Before they leave, Ben Gates points out Abigail's button collection and says, I quote, must have taken a long time to find all that history, or something like that. The film strategically reveals to us some very key and important things about Ben Gates' character. He cares a lot about America. He cares a lot about the freedom that America has granted all Americans. He cares a lot about preserving these American rights. So I'm writing the script right now, and at this point in the video, this is what I remember about the first film from memory. Is that concerning? Should I be concerned that I can recall all of this, and now I'm putting this in the video now because it's correct, that I've recalled it correctly. Is that concerning? For the next 10 minutes of the film, Ben and Riley debate in various iconic American locations, such as this place where the shot catches Ben at the perfect angle here, in which he is mirroring the statue of Abraham Lincoln. I don't know what that means, I don't know what they're implying, it's just a shot in the film, and it's obviously a very conscious decision, and I just wanted to point that out to everyone, that they positioned Nic Cage to be sitting right in front of Abraham Lincoln in the same position. What are you trying to say? Is he Abraham Lincoln, that Ben Gates doesn't believe in slavery? What a good guy. I'm glad I know that now. They come to the decision that in order to protect the Declaration of Independence from Sean Bean stealing it, they must steal it first. Conveniently, there is a gala coming up at the National Archives, exactly where the Declaration of Independence is stored. Everyone will be distracted at this gala, and I still don't know what they're celebrating or gathering for, but it's fine. The following montage includes Riley being a fucking computer nerd, Ben using Photoshop for the first time, and Sean Bean planning how he will steal the Declaration himself. Ben also gets a hold of Abigail's fingerprints by gifting her the last button needed to complete her collection. She rubs her thumb all over it. It makes sense. It's the night of the gala. Riley pulls up in this non-suspicious vehicle. Ben Gates is disguised as a security guard and sneaks into the party. He finds Abigail, offers her champagne. Abigail's other possible man who could be in her life shows up and is of course weirded out that she is speaking to another man. How could she? Nic Cage delivers once again in this incredible spewing of dialogue.
A toast, yeah? To high treason. That's what these men were committing when they signed the Declaration. Had we lost the war, they would have been hanged, beheaded, drawn and quartered, and oh, my personal favorite, had their entrails cut out and burned. Here's to the men who did what was considered wrong, but they knew was right. Good night.
And of course, Abigail suspects Ben Gates of something funny because he is objectively acting super fucking weird. Ben uses Abigail's fingerprints, guesses the password, no thanks to Riley.
A glove fry, gravy flow. Gov-ray.
It's Valley Forge.
I don't have that on my computer.
It's Valley Forge. She pressed the N-L twice.
Gravy flow.
Fucking useless.
Gravy flow.
Lots of elevators, lots of sneaking, they're in, but so is Sean Bean. Ben rolls up this 200-year-old document like this. Sean Bean's team has guns. Thank God for bulletproof glass. Ben is now back on the main floor of the gala, carrying around the Declaration like this. Hides in a gift shop, is asked if he's stealing the Declaration of Independence replica. Get it? Because it's not the replica, it's the real Declaration of Independence. That's so funny. And has no cash to pay for it. We take Visa. Uh-oh. Did you forget that the government can track your purchases based on where you use your card? Ben is in the parking lot, speed walking. Abigail is onto him. The guards discover the Declaration has been stolen. Ben gives Abigail the Declaration, or so we think. Abigail walks slowly, screaming to no one, is kidnapped by Sean Bean's taco truck. Car chase scene number 1. Let's go. Sean Bean, who now thinks he has gotten the Declaration, unrolls it in excitement, only to discover that it is the gift shop replica. Wow, Ben Gates is so clever. Also, Ben and Riley kidnap Abigail back. Like as in they save her from Sean Bean, but they are now technically holding her in their unsuspicious vehicle against her will and forcing her to be an alibi in their Declaration of Independence heist. It's fine, she's fine. The FBI shows up at the gala and they do things that the FBI do.
So, are you shooting? Shooting at? Why would you get on?
Ben, Abigail, and Riley recognize that the FBI is onto them, so they escape to Ben Gates' father's house in Pennsylvania. He is very thrilled to see his son. Now for the secret map. It is concealed, but they can reveal it with lemon juice and heat, of course.
Throw it in the oven.
No. The secret map is a series of numbers. Fun! Math! I love math! That will lead them to needing the Silence Do-Good letters. Of course. Ben's dad has the letters. Where are they, Dad? He asked. I don't have them, son. What? He donated them?
What?
Bastard. Damn it. Ben's dad lectures him on the absurdity and the endless emptiness that is treasure hunting, and how it's wasted his own life, and he cannot bear to watch his son waste his. Riley eats a pizza, Abigail looks uncomfortable. The letters were donated to some sort of museum, so gotta go get those now. A clue will lead to another clue, and then another clue. Sean Bean has also figured this out, that the Silence Do-Good letters are needed for the next clue. Oh no! This plot doesn't miss a fucking beat! They're here now, whatever city this is. Riley bribes this kid to run back and forth from the museum to Hem in order to obtain the cipher from the Silence Do-Good letters. Sean Bean is also present and catches on to this, following the kid who holds the last letter needed, but finds no Riley, no Ben, and no Abigail. Where are Ben and Abigail, you may be wondering? We haven't seen them on screen in a while. They're at 2004 Urban Outfitters. This shot makes it look like they're in one big dressing room together. Oh my god. When I was a kid, this scene really confused me because the way it's shot, it like looks like they're in the same dressing room. So you're like, what are they naked together? That's not a thing. Ben reveals why treasure hunting is so important to him and basically says, I'm not like other girls.
But I just want to know it's not just something in my head or in my heart.
People don't really talk that way, you know?
I know, but they think that way.
They now have new clothes. Riley delivers to them the new clue, which is supposed to lead them to Liberty Bell at Liberty Hall. Ben harasses this cashier for an $100 bill, which has a picture of Liberty Hall on it, and examines with a water bottle the very small image of the clock tower. I love this scene. Time to go to Independence Hall. Stay with me here, folks. The image of the bill that has the clock tower on it, it shows a certain time on the clock, and that's the time that they need to go to the hall to see the sundial. Like, the tower acts as a sundial, which points to a certain spot on the wall, and there's a brick on the wall, and it has a little stamp on it, which is a Freemason stamp. And Ben Gates, he cuts out the brick out of the wall, he pulls the brick out, and inside this brick that is a part of the structure of the wall, there is tiny 3D vintage sunglasses. It makes sense. 3D glasses reveal more of the secret map on the back of the Declaration, Celtic crosses, and another poem. Sean Bean and the bad guys are on to Nic Cage and the others. So, on foot chase scene time. I genuinely like and appreciate the way this is shot and how the sequence works for the film. I like the way the characters have to split up with pieces of the puzzle. I like the way they run through this farmer's market, this graveyard, this roof scene is fun, and the failure that Riley, Ben, and Abigail face at the end is unpredictable. As an audience, we can feel for these characters, and the weight of this loss is communicated quickly but effectively. Nic Cage gets arrested. The Declaration is in Sean Bean's hands. What are they going to do? Ben tells the FBI everything. They agree to help him if he helps them get the Declaration back from Sean Bean. We're in New York now. Helicopter, FBI van, Nic Cage stunt, National Treasure understood the assignment. Wet shirt? Dry shirt. Looks like it was a sunny day, so it makes sense. Sean and Nic Cage team up. Both have a trick up their sleeves, something about calling bluff. Poker metaphors kind of confuse me. You only see white men in film use poker metaphors. You never see anybody else use a poker metaphor. Please find me an example in film or media or anywhere, any art form, where anybody other than a white man is using a poker metaphor to basically say, my dick is bigger than yours. Skipping forward a bit, we're at Trinity Church now. Next clue, let's go. The clues lead them here. Ben's dad was kidnapped. Riley is being a wuss. Double shot. I haven't really eaten today. I had a sandwich. Cool torch. This guy falls to his death, and it is meaningful because he had an accent and we didn't get to know his name, but great character. Ben kisses Abigail because he knows they may die. Dead end. Ben Gates feeds Sean Bean another clue. He leaves them for dead, but it was a trick. The secret lies with Charlotte. Old pipe fits into wall, you turn it, the treasure is behind the door, the secret lies with Charlotte. CGI treasure. Ben Gates' name is cleared, Sean Bean is arrested, no trial, everyone is rich, Riley has a Ferrari. Next movie. National Treasure 2, Book of Secrets, in my humble opinion, is the superior film. Not that the first one is bad, but because the second one delivers an even more complex plot, more characters, even more surprisingly famous actors. Like, what are you doing in my trash? Ed Harris and Helen Mirren are here. What are you doing in my trash? You were in the Truman Show. The second film also has the advantage of being able to build upon our plethora of knowledge and love for Nic Cage, Abigail, and Riley. The relationships are established, there's not a lot of exposition, which is nice, but our expectations are also turned over and diverted right at the beginning of the film. The information we know about Ben Gates and his family's claims may be wrong, and history has left out the potential truth. Ben Gates' great-great-grandfather could be the murderer of Abraham Lincoln. What? Amazing. Amazing. Incredible. The movie starts like this. Ed Harris, who is this film's new villain, interrupts Nic Cage's TED Talk, reveals a lost page from a diary from his great-great-grandfather that somehow proves or throws into confusion the truth about each man's family history and how they relate to Abraham Lincoln's assassination. Also, the City of Gold. We're looking for the City of Gold in this film. Ben Gates breaks into his ex-house that he once shared with his now ex-girlfriend, Abigail. This is played for laughs. Ben judges Abigail's potential new boyfriend and then convinces her to scan the back of the diary page to reveal a secret code. Once deciphered, the code spells out La Boulée, which means that they have to go to the Statue of Liberty, but the small one in France. Did you not know that there were 2 Statue of Liberties? I mean, there are technically 3, and the film strategically avoids talking about the one in Vegas, which I think is really funny. Everybody learned a fun fact on this day. There are 3 Statues of Liberty. One is in Vegas. Ben and Riley fly a helicopter drone equipped with a camera in order to see the scripture hidden on the torch, which these very nice cops translate for them. No problem. Here's your ticket now, Riley, for fucking flying around this helicopter around the Statue of Liberty that is in France and not Las Vegas. You fucking nerd, you cannot do that. This is the joke of, this is a punchline. We translate, we're nice cops, but we give you ticket. The scripture translated leads Ben Gates to believe that they must see in person the Resolute desk, which is, in case you didn't know, a desk in the Queen's office. So, time to go to Buckingham Palace, pretend to be drunk, freak out at your ex-girlfriend when she flies out to England to help you find the City of Gold to clear your great-great-grandfather's name, and hello.
Wrong about us! Wrong about Thomas! Everybody listen to this. This is more interesting than that. She thinks that even when I'm right, I'm wrong.
Oh, now look what you've done.
Enjoying his whiskey. Hi guys! That's the coconuts! Here they are, standing in a row! Small ones, big ones, some as big as your head!
I love these films. Because Ben pretended to be drunk and instigated a performative argument with Abigail, the security guards have placed them in this cell, this Buckingham Palace dungeon. But they escape quickly by stealing some flowers and using this dumbwaiter elevator, which fits 2 full-grown adult bodies, yes. They sneak into the Queen's office. There are 4 drawers, a code, like a year, yes. The drawers act as tumblers on a safe. Secret drawers open on the side to reveal this old piece of wood. Ben picks it up and it does not break in his hand. He shoves it in his coat side pocket. Wait, where did he put it? It's gone. Outside, Abigail and Ben share with Riley their new find, but Ed Harris is on to them. Car chase scene number 2. Riley wants to drive and is immediately castrated because, silly, in London they drive on the other side, the wheel on the left side, you silly goose. You thought they drove on the right side. After what feels like an hour-long car chase scene, where basically the audience learns that streets are narrow in London, we get another one of my favorite moments from these films. Ben Gates needs this clue, but he also needs Ed Harris to get off his tail. So Ben Gates runs a red light, holds up the piece of wood with the clue, and the cameras, like the speeding ticket cameras, they take his photo, and he's holding up the piece of, like this, and that's the photo they use. Then he chucks the piece of wood out the car window over this bridge, like, go fetch Ed Harris. I should mention that earlier, Ed Harris broke into Ben's father's house and cloned his cell phone. So every time Ben calls his dad, he's also being secretly listened to by Ed Harris. This is how Ed Harris is gaining information on the clues and is cheating his way through this race to find the City of Gold. Ben's mother, who, according to the first film, was dead. Like, they made it seem like she was not alive anymore.
At least I had your mother, for however brief a time.
But this movie, they decide, no, Ben is actually going to have a mom. It's Helen Mirren, and she's a professor. She's like a linguistic professor, like a language professor. She can translate the clue. This scene reveals to us that Ben's parents have gone through a divorce. They bicker about a toothbrush, which is what divorced couples argue about. Ben's mother attempts to translate the piece of wood, but also points out that there is a missing piece and that the cipher, the clue, is not really complete. The second piece of wood is in the other Resolute desk, which Ben Gates forgot about. It's just a little bit flawed. A small slip up on Ben Gates's part. So now they need to find the other Resolute desk, which is in the Oval Office. Abigail's potential new boyfriend from Modern Family works at the White House, and it's Easter, and there's an Easter egg hunt. Abigail emotionally manipulates Modern Family to let them see the Oval Office, and then Ben Gates can get to the desk and retrieve the other piece of wood.
So much. That's the best.
But the second piece of wood is missing. What is left is a stamp, a sigil, somehow indicating that they must get a hold of the president's secret book. Yes.
Do you like ducks? There is a book.
A book that only the president has access to. How will Ben and Riley and Abigail get a hold of said book, you ask? By kidnapping the president of the United States of America. Amazing. This film is amazing.
I'm gonna kidnap the President of the United States.
Do you like ducks?
The only way that Ben Gates can speak to the president alone about this secret book is by kidnapping him, which Ben's father, Abigail, and Riley eventually agree is a perfectly okay thought process. The president's birthday party is a thing. Ben dresses up as a waiter. Ben's father dresses up as a fisherman. This president is supposed to be this universe's Bush somehow, I don't know. Ben shows a secret map to the president. They go on a treasure hunt. Secret door closes behind them. Ben Gates reveals to the president that he needs information from him on this location of the secret book, and the only way he could do that was to hold him hostage in a sewer on his birthday. What's the code, Mr. President?
XY234787794.
Got it. Thanks. Awesome. Did you get that? Because Ben Gates got that. Time to go to the library where the FBI is onto Ben Gates. The FBI does things that the FBI does. Is this the same movie as before? What? Secret door, codes, running, the president's secret book. The book itself is filled with exclusive, fun history facts, conspiracy theory answers. Riley says, Area 51, and it is never brought up back again that there is a page in the president's secret book that is about Area 51. What a nerd. No one cares about Area 51, Riley. Ben, Riley, and Abigail retrieve the next clue from the book, a picture of the missing piece of wood. Ben takes a photo of the photo, sends it to his dad's phone. Oh no, Ed Harris has a clone phone of Ben's dad's phone, so he gets the photo too of the picture of the piece of wood. And he didn't even need to do any of the work. Ed Harris, like the villain, he doesn't even have to, he just gets to kind of mooch off of, what? Ed Harris gets to Ben's mother first, has her translate the plank, threatens her, burns this letter from the Queen. I don't know, it's a clue. They don't really explain. Kidnaps her, and now we're at Mount Rushmore, folks. Rushmore? We're at Mount Rushmore, folks. It also does not matter that Ed Harris kidnapped Ben's mother and has the next clue because Ben Gates figured it out anyways. He's just so clever. So now everybody is forced to work together to find the City of Gold if everybody wants to stay alive. The group reaches this open area of rock behind Mount Rushmore, and Ed Harris reveals the last clue.
The entrance shall only be revealed under a cloudless rain. Figure that one out.
So, we come back when it's raining?
So Ben Gates brilliantly figures out that this riddle means that the rock must be wet. And then something will be revealed to them that will lead them to the next clue. So the rock must be wet. So what they do, but there cannot be any clouds. So they need the heat of the sun. They need the sun to see something like that. So what they do is they all take out their water bottles and they start pouring water all over the rock.
I'm gonna water the whole thing.
An eagle is revealed, a secret handhole. Ben sticks his hand in, pulls the lever, secret door revealed, secret tunnels, secret broken floors, secret giant platform thing, risking lives, yelling, Ed Harris, Abigail having a continuously bad time, Riley being a weakling, Nicolas Cage yelling, some more elderly people doing stunts. The assignment was understood by National Treasure. The group finally comes upon a room surrounded by giant pooling sources of gushing water, and they realize that there must be a way that the water is draining out, or else the entire room and cave would fill up with water, which then leads them to the City of Gold. Look at this 2007 rendering of the City of Gold. It's pretty good. Everyone gushes over this lost history. Ed Harris acts suspicious. So I mentioned the water really vaguely about 2 seconds ago. Whatever is keeping the water from filling up, right? It breaks. It breaks, and now everyone is like, get out, we're gonna drown. I'm not explaining this clearly. That's how it feels, because the film wants you to feel quite like panicked, right? So a way to make your audience feel panicked is for stuff to not make sense. The group makes their way basically to the drainage hole of the city. Knives, punching, Nicolas Cage acting, a conundrum. One of them must stay behind to keep the door open before it floods and drowns them all. Ben decides that it is he who will sacrifice himself to save his family, friends, and Ed Harris. But somehow, I don't know how, there's a lot of water, there's a mix-up, and Ed Harris ends up being the last person to keep the door open. Ed Harris in this scene acts like he's in a completely different movie, like this is a family film, Ed. We didn't need you to try for an Oscar in the last 5 minutes of the film. He screams that he wants to be included in the credit of finding the treasure. Ben Gates screams back, Ed's strength gives out. The group gets out alive except for Ed Harris. Rest in peace, Ed Harris. Loved you in the Truman Show. You were amazing. Celebration. Treasure hunters turned heroes. Fireworks. Abigail and Ben decide to rekindle and start dating again. Riley meets a girl. The end.
I love the character. I think he's a fascinating character. He's a complex character. As far as superhero films go, I mean, cinematically, he's going to be the most interesting looking character ever in a movie. He's cinematically the most natural fit, but it's still something that we're all talking about.
Both of these films contain core thematic through lines that are presented to us, surprisingly, in a very effective, clear, and distinct manner. It's subtle enough that if you're not watching for it, or if you're not a fucking women's and gender studies minor, and your brain is continuously plagued with theory for no reason, and you've graduated and it's been 2 months, and you still, like, use the word vernacular. Just say words. Just say the way we talk, Claudia. You don't need to say vernacular. Then yeah, even if you ideologically disagree with the truths that National Treasure presents, they still present them in a very effective and clear way. The job is still getting done in telling the audience what to think about the story. And yes, the National Treasure films are telling you exactly what you need to get out of them, what to take away, and what to think in general. National Treasure as a piece of art is not unique in this either. I personally don't seek out art that tries to tell me what to do and what to think, but I do have a great amount of respect for these films and the effectiveness with which these truths are communicated, even if they are trash truths. For this part of the video, we are going to focus on the masculinity that is presented in the films. The performance of masculinity, the types of masculinity, hegemonic or otherwise, and how these various presentations of masculinity feed into a larger truth about patriarchy, about power, and about patriotic fetishism. I could get into why Ben Gates' pursuit of American ideals is a fetishization and how he gains erotic pleasure from such pursuits, but I don't know if that's for this video. And I don't know if I feel like saying the words fetish and Benjamin Franklin Gates and Nicolas Cage repeatedly in the same sentences for like 10 minutes. I don't know if I can do that. So that thought is there. I'm just gonna leave that right there, and you can think about that on your own time. Benjamin Gates has a fetish for the imagined utopic America. That's there for you now. Truth number 1, Benjamin Gates is great in every way, especially in the way that the imagined America of the National Treasure films presents greatness. Ben knows American history inside and out. The parts that are written in English and taught to white children, but history nonetheless. He is active in his pursuit of treasures that are missing from history, left behind by various historical figures such as the Founding Fathers. This makes Ben Gates valiant, independent, a proud patriot, and a distributor of Americana. Ben Gates lives, performs, and thrives in the imagined and impossible ideal United States of America. So what do these personality traits or character traits say about his masculinity? Well, like a founding father, he is nurturing the past, feels a calling to his lineage, and has tasked himself with the responsibility to uphold a legacy that his father and his great-grandfather and his great-great-grandfather were unable to maintain. This is important. The films present to us failing and failed men. Ben's grandfather in the opening scene of the first movie tells the young Ben Gates a very animated and excited bedtime story about adventure and mystery and treasure, and he is cut short when his son, Ben's father, shuns him for filling Ben's mind with fairy tales. In the same scene, we are not only communicated that his grandfather has not found the treasure and instead pursues the imagining of childish stories that are basically about ghosts, but also that Ben's father does not believe in the treasure and feels it is a waste of time. This is communicated again later in the film when Ben must stay at his father's to hide out from the FBI, and more information is revealed to us. Ben's father has wasted much of his life pursuing the treasure and following clues, also coming up with nothing. He cannot see his son fail as he has and as his grandfather has. This is further pushed when Mitch in the second film, Mitch is Ed Harris. I realized that I really left that out. Mitch in the second film speaks on his own family legacy, his needs to uphold and repair the lies that have circulated on his great-great-grandfather, and how he must be the one to find the treasure. Ben Gates and the audience know that Mitch is wrong and that his great-great-grandfather did conspire to kill Lincoln. So this makes Mitch's pursuit of the treasure pitiful and almost wrong. At least, that's what the film portrays, and that's what the film wants you to think about Mitch. So as we can gather from a lot of this, Ben Gates as a character has a lot to carry, because he has to prove to himself, to his family, and to America that he's not just an outcast, freak, treasure hunter, but a dutiful servant to America, fulfilling some sort of prophesized history about American greatness. Another comparison here, Ben Gates does not want the treasure for selfish reasons. He does not want to get rich or benefit from the wealth, as Sean Bean and Mitch are represented as wanting. This greedy desire to find the treasure and financially benefit are framed as wrong, even though at the end of both films, Ben Gates is represented as benefiting greatly from the money he's gained in finding the treasures. But he is not presented as boastful, non-humble, and money-hungry. All Ben Gates wants is to prove and fulfill what he believes to be his legacy and take part in a piece of history, quietly yet proudly. So Ben Gates' masculinity is specific, as we noted earlier, because he is an outsider by his profession. He's wrong up until the point in which he finds the treasure. And to some men, especially to Ben Gates, being wrong is probably the worst thing that you can be. So both films are just this character, played by Nic Cage, one of Hollywood's once most respected and sought-after actors, just fueled by the fear of being wrong and needing to redeem what his father and his grandfather failed, where they technically, based on what the film tells us, were not man enough to do. Ben Gates's masculinity is also presented as charming, loud, cocky, standoffish, intelligent, and clever. He is also respectful of the President of the United States by kidnapping him and cornering him in the underground tunnel sewer for information, but also freely offering him the way out of the tunnel with no threat. But when kidnapping Abigail, Ben Gates mocks her, dismisses her, gaslights her in saying that she's yelling and overreacting. Do you ever just get kidnapped by a guy that you meet like once, and that one time that you met him, he was using a fake name, and then he blames you because you're overreacting because he stole the Declaration of Independence, and you could get in a lot of trouble for that. Do you ever have that happen? You're the one overreacting. That sounds like my Friday night. What I'm saying is that Ben Gates is a misogynist, outsider, cocky, humble man, and I still like these movies. Because America as a state of power was imposed through colonialism, and colonialism has a sort of symbiotic relation to patriarchy, meaning they uphold one another equally, it does not shock me that Ben Gates directly personifies America in every aspect of this performance. He simultaneously is what America wishes and believes itself to be, which is just, fair, free, and virtuous, and he portrays a reality of what America is. America thinks it is just. It thinks it is free. It thinks it has the right to commit certain acts that would be considered treasonous and unethical by the hands of others. This is best represented in Ben's need to protect the Declaration of Independence by stealing it before anyone else can. Further, we could argue that America knows it is not free and knows it is not just, that assuming its ignorance permits us to forgive much easier. So, like Ben Gates, America is actually just very, very afraid, and that fear, instead of leading to discussion and an unpack of what is actually happening and what has happened and what will continue to happen, brings us to instead over-patriotism, lashing out, pointing fingers, screaming righteousness, spewing various history facts that at the end of the day mean nothing and pertain to nothing that is actually going on. I'm tired. Ben Gates lives and thrives and supports the imagined America of this film, which is patriarchal, colonial, racist, a whole bunch of other stuff that I don't think this film wants you to think about. They don't think about it. They want you to know that Ben Gates is the best and that he is correct no matter what the means. Even if these means seem unethical, un-American, or just bad, like don't do that. Don't kidnap people. It doesn't matter. Ben Gates will prove you wrong for doubting him and ooh, that construction. Ooh, it's so fun. I love it. Ben Gates will prove you wrong for doubting him, and everything turns out in the end. You just had to trust him. The American dream only works if you would just stop having such a bad fucking attitude about it. Thus, I try to think about Ben Gates' character and his masculinity not as an individual, but as a larger embodiment of what Bush's America circa 2004 would have thought were the best possible ideologies to uphold for the best country possible. Being able to deconstruct the character in this way helps me digest the absurdity of Ben Gates. There is something so specific about Ben Gates, played by Nic Cage, that I do find so fucking fascinating. So it doesn't help with the absurdity of Nic Cage as an actor or person or whoever he is. This just might be something that I have to figure out on my own time. Truth number 2. Ben Gates is a better man than Riley Poole. Riley has two sole functions as a character in these films. The first one is so that we can know as an audience what Ben Gates is not. He is not weak, not shaken by confusion, not petty, not nerdy, not embarrassing, not shameful, not cowardly. Riley is all of those things. Riley embodies a lacking of hegemonic masculinity, a man who does not have the gall to dare, he does not have the courage to explore, and he does not have what it takes to be the leading man of this story. Of course, Riley is not Ben's direct opposite or the antagonist of the story. He and Ben still share some core values. Riley wants to be like Ben. He desires his power and his charm, but at the same time, Riley still mocks and picks at Ben, especially when he discovers and figures out a new clue. There are some attempts at becoming his equal at an intellectual level, but these moments exist to have Ben win and decipher the clue first, knocking Riley down once again to his specific position in the story, which is sidekick, beta, loser, not Ben Gates, not man enough. So Riley is a sidekick, and he does accomplish something else for this story. Riley's second function as a character is to embody the thoughts of the viewing audience. Much of Riley's dialogue, quips, and overall soy boy ramblings could be boiled down to an aside, a break of the fourth wall, and an almost world-breaking awareness of the self. Like I mentioned earlier, there are moments where Riley picks at Ben, questions his authority or process, and upon my rewatching of both films, I found myself agreeing with Riley's logic and assessment of the absurdity that Ben's actions hold. Riley is necessary to the story in this way as a character that much of the audience may be able to agree with, but there is some shame that exists when Riley is knocked down a peg. So this relationship where the viewers can relate and agree with Riley becomes complicated when Ben Gates is suddenly shunning him, or the whole of the other characters such as Ben's father, Sean Bean, or Abigail look to Riley with confusion. There is a distance created here, and as a viewer I feel isolated from Ben Gates. I could never be Ben Gates because we're all Riley. As an audience, we are all asking, well, yeah, Ben Gates, how are you going to kidnap the President of the United States? How are you going to continue to pursue these clues? That doesn't seem like a sustainable existence. You know what? You're right. I should maybe just shut up. Those who do agree with Riley are penalized in this isolation because nobody should doubt Ben Gates or the greatness of what he is pursuing, no matter the means. You should never doubt or question the authority, somebody who is better than you, somebody who has gained this authority somehow through a structuralist, very specific system. You should never, just because. That's it. On that note, without Riley, Ben's character morphs into something quite sinister that would basically fail to gain any audience respect or admiration, at least maybe now in the present day. It's not Bush's America anymore. Things have shifted. An alpha is nothing without the beta. The greatest country on earth cannot claim to be great if it were the only country on earth. This self-centeredness comes at the expense of the other, and the other acts as a reassurance for Ben or America or whiteness or whatever, because A is not B. And thank God for that. Thank God I am not weak or afraid is what Ben Gates tells himself throughout both films. But whether or not that is true doesn't matter because he wins in the end. There's something wrong here. There are two specific moments, one in each film, where Riley realizes that he knows something that Ben Gates does not know. And both of these separate moments, they do the same thing for the story, and they have quite a similar pacing, quite a similar tone, and they exist so that we can know that Riley is forever in the position that he is in, and Ben Gates is forever in the position that he is in, because in this film's universe, our roles and who we are is concrete. It does not move. It's not fluid. Your values will remain the same your whole life. The way you act, the way you move through the world and experience your life, it's a structural truth, which we know in real life that's like not true. But for this film, it's true, and that's specific. In the first film, this moment is right after Ben Gates and the water bottle and the Urban Outfitters, and I love that scene. And Ben and Abigail believe that they've missed the time to go look at the sundial brick stamp, the thing with the 3D glasses, whatever, you know what I'm talking about. They think they've missed it, and time is of the essence here. But Riley, relishing in Ben's confusion, explains that the creation of daylight savings in a year, there's a year, I'll put it, daylight savings was created in this year. You're learning in this video. It means that they've actually not missed the time, and they do have a chance to go to the bell tower to retrieve the clue. Riley is given the podium. It's this whole moment that he knows something that Ben does not, and we celebrate with him. this victory in knowledge. In Book of Secrets, it happens again. Riley realizes that the rest of the group has yet to read his book on conspiracy theories and treasure, and he explains to them that the existence of this president's secret book. Nobody, not Abigail, not Ben's father, not even Ben, have any knowledge of this book, and the importance that it will hold for them in finding the city of gold. The Book of Secrets turns out to be, which the film is even titled after, it's a key clue and plot point for the remainder of the film. Riley once again relishes in the moment of knowing more than the all-knowing Benjamin Gates. And although the audience may celebrate with him, I do feel this wrongness in the pit of me. Because after this, it's right back to mocking Riley and belittling his attempts at being just as good as Ben. These small reverses of power for Riley are almost tragic, and is Riley Poole the tragic hero of this story? Oh my god. Do you ever think about how most Hollywood films and most of media really acts as like a public service announcement for all men to teach them how to be men, except not in a healthy, sustainable way, and how the rest of us are kind of just, expected to just eat this up. But really, we're just left with the crumbs. I grieve deeply every day, and I don't notice it most times. Fun history fact. I've used the word trash to describe National Treasure, I think like 2 times in this video, and I haven't really explained what I mean by that, what the implications of that are, because I don't think that the National Treasure films are like garbage or horrible or unenjoyable or like objectively bad in any way, even if that seems to be somewhat of a general consensus. I use the term trash endearingly in a way to highlight certain aspects of the film that might not work in the real world, but tell a specific story about the real world through chaos, camp, innocence, play, and absurdity. Things that are trash about the National Treasure films: for example, Ben Gates, the character played by Nic Cage, is the nephew of Francis Ford Coppola, the guy who directed, what is it called? The Godfather. The way Ben talks, the plot inconsistencies, the early 2000s sexism, bad CGI, the number of times that they say Declaration of Independence in the first film, scene bean in general. If this doesn't really help my definition, then we can always look to Urban Dictionary, which defines trash as you, which is not very helpful in our case, for our situation. We can look at this much more specific definition of fandom trash. Defined by the Free Dictionary, it describes fandom trash as, quote, slang, someone who is fully aware of their extreme interest or excessive investment in fandoms. Despite the negative connotations of trash, this term is typically a proud or self-deprecating identifier in the manner of a reclaimed term. From this definition, we can draw some similarities that we see in our protagonist, Ben Gates. He is probably someone who would define himself as extreme, but not extreme in a bad way, extreme for the greater good, obsessive, and proud. He is especially aware of his investment, emotional, physical, and spiritual, in the cult, the fandom that is America. This is trash, right? This is the definition of trash. This is trash behavior. This has no logic outside of itself. And it's all in a movie that wants you, to an extent, to suspend your disbelief for a moment, to believe that a person like this would really exist, and that a person like this deserves to be listened to, agreed with, to be held to the highest standard. And better yet, the film doesn't actually care if you do hold Ben Gates to this high standard and, you know, that you process or don't process his absurdity. It doesn't care. You just have to take it. The audience relationship to the art, which is National Treasure in our case, right? It's that it doesn't exist. You don't get to decide anything. You are not active in this relationship. You are not in power of anything over anything or anyone. You don't get to decide whether or not Ben Gates is cool or not. He just is. And that's it. He's great because we told you he is, and America is great because we told you it is, and that's it. Nicolas Cage himself exudes trash. He's in hundreds upon thousands of films. I don't know how many movies Nicolas Cage has been. I'm gonna look up how many movies Nicolas Cage has been in and put that here so that we all know that, yeah. He's in every movie you've ever seen, yet all these movies that you've never heard of. There are countless video compilations online of Nicolas Cage's overreactions that occur in almost every film he's starred in. This is camp. This is absurd to its fullest extent, and also absurd in no way, because it's reality. Everything that Nicolas Cage does, or Ben Gates does, more specifically, it is presented as reality and like sane. This is dreamscape shit. What a privilege it is to exist in such a complicated time. What a privilege it is to find it all so funny. You know, the more you think about something, the more it just becomes not fun. So just keep making those Nicolas Cage, you know, overreacting compilations, because men who are angry are funny. Another fun fact is that, I just want to bring it up again, it's that Nicolas Cage, Ben Gates, in this movie, kidnaps the president of the United States. He does that in the movie. He does this, and he is not shot dead on the spot. Instead, he runs free with the codes he needs, and then he gets to see the president's secret book, and eventually this leads to the City of Gold, the treasure, right? He gets what he wants, right? He kidnaps the president, and he's not like fucking shot dead. Of course, situations like this one occur multiple times throughout both films, in which the plot allows every convenience for our protagonist, sometimes going as far as tricking us, making us think a wrench has truly been thrown into the plans of treasure hunter Nic Cage, only to later reinforce his undeniable charm, wit, intelligence, and natural treasure hunting skills. This should be upsetting because obviously it points to a very one-sided character, a hero with no flaws, but at the same time, this sick, absurd, repetitive, and hilarious occurrence in the National Treasure films makes me laugh, because there is something so relieving about this bad writing. Something so, freeing about, all of it. Nic Cage kidnapped the President of the United States, and that's it. That's it. That's all there is to it. Don't think about it. That is something that happens in this movie. Like, what? What is happening? Well, don't think about it. Nic Cage plays a character who kidnaps the president. So what does this mean? What does it mean that I essentially gain pleasure from having these films do the heavy lifting for me, if there is any heavy lifting at all to begin with? What do we do with this absurd knowledge now? What do I do? Well, the answer has sort of always lied within us, right? It's not about what's going on over there. It's about what's going on in here. What do we do? Well, we laugh about it. We name it trash. We can talk about it and marinate in it, and we don't think. Don't think. It's gonna be great.